let's talk about the planet/world of the Force Comics Universe Part 5. Now, one of the other planets in the Force Comics, planet/worlds in the Force Comics Universe, would actually be the world of, would not be the planet itself, but we want to imaginary worlds of the imagination. Basically, a world called 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 Fate. Called world called the purple. Basically called basically called called Fantasia. Now, Fantasia is basically a fantasy world. Basically, there's inhabits. Now, Fantasia is actually a fantasy world that's well inhabited by fantasy monsters, fantasy creatures like wizards, elves, and many adults. It's well, kind of created by imagination, man, and his child imagination. He travels to throughout his adventures. Now, Fantasia, it's one of the imaginary worlds in the imagination space dimension. Fantasia, basically, Fantasia, basically in a world full of fantasy creatures like elves, goblins, dragons, wizards, talking trees, and the likes. Now, another planet in slash world in the Force Comics universe would be the planet of Vargon. Now, Vargon would be a world this planet associated with the Star Knight Core. Now, Vargon is a planet. This planet is actually a it's actually the home of art. Now, Vargon is actually well, there's actually the there's a star. There was basically a Starnet's one of Starnet's largest recruiting training centers, training outposts. There was a training outpost for the Star Knight Corps. And Vargon is basically a planet on the outskirts of the Lost Galaxy. It is located in the faraway outskirts of the Lost Galaxy. There's basically concerned in a region of space called the Fringe Worlds. They basically lie on the fringes of the Lost Galaxy. The Fringe Worlds are very, very calm. Very isolated worlds that are isolated from the rest of the galaxy. However, the Stargate Core, using their advanced spacefaring technology, can travel across the Fringe Worlds. In a manner, compared to most space travelers. Now, the Fringe World. Now, Vargon is one of the Fringe Worlds. It has this race called the Vargonians, who are basically its native inhabitants. And the Vargonians also have some emissaries of their own government. And the Vargonians also formed a Vargonian Empire. Basically sends some of their emissaries over as ambassadors for the Star Knight Legions, to represent the Star Knight Legions. However,